All right. Okay, there we go. All right, I swear I know what I'm doing. All right, let's make this go. All right, so hi, I'm Andrea Rosenbaum, and I am here with my trusty sidekick Trixie, and we are happy to have you all here for the return of Corporate Cup after too long of an absence. So I know Heather's a veteran. I know Donna's been a part of this before. Shay, have you done this? You did participate. I know this is IHMC's first time in, and maybe some of the, I'm not sure, the Ailstock team might be different. And then I did have quite a few people who were doing another session of this tomorrow, and some folks who couldn't, but thank you for being here in person so that we can go through this. So I am going to share my screen, and we will, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So not super formal here. I want to be able to walk you through the kind of the event day. And we've done I think what will be a little more helpful job, not even just for you all, but even for your team participants, with some little tiny video clips. So in some cases photos, but in a lot of places little video clips so that people can actually see a little bit of the event. So part of recording this is not just for captains, but that we can actually send you all out a YouTube link. So if people want to say, I don't understand the sod surfing thing, they can actually look at this little clip of it straight on the presentation. So, I will make this as efficient as I can, knowing that you all can go back and look at it at your leisure. Great thanks to Baptist Healthcare, Andrews Institute, who has been with us since the beginning of this event, and this year Navy Federal Credit Union as our other gold sponsor. We really appreciate that. And I'm about to sign that Andrews will be our official sports medicine folks, our athletic trainers for the event as well, for our safety, working on that. So we think it's very funny. It's very ironic that our theme, the last theme that we had was Mission Possible. And year after year, it's been Mission Impossible, but this year we're back to making it possible. So I think most of you know this, but just to reiterate, that is our theme for the day. And so we really encourage everybody to interpret that theme. And we'll talk about that a little bit more with t-shirts, banners, and things that are all optional, but ways for you to maybe engage some folks who might not be able to be that day, or just get more of your team, your company involved, and to make the day a little more fun. So, all right. Where is my next button? There we go. Woo. All right. So we are doing on this return day, tightening up the day a little bit. One of the bits of feedback we've gotten is people having trouble getting folks to stay all the way through till the end. So we're going to do our best to stay on track. But this is all on Pensacola State's College, and we'll look at a map, a Google Earth map in just a moment. Our crew will do some early setup the day before. Oh, and let me just say that you will get, after this meeting, a PFD. That's what happens when you work in the swimming world. That's a different thing. A PDF of our whole captain's manual. Heather, I know that Wes was asking about that yesterday too. So that goes through everything you will have all this written as well. But our team will be out there the afternoon before, and then before the sun comes up, getting last minute things set up. You are welcome to join us on that Friday afternoon if you wanted to put a tent up or bring out things that you will leave overnight or get there early in the morning. Our goal is by 8 o'clock, we're wrestling things up and getting going. It doesn't necessarily mean that every member of your team will get there at 8 o'clock. We understand that, but we want to get started. So we do have a nice opening ceremony so that we can start the first round of individual events at 8:45. So each round of events, and we'll look at that schedule next, we'll have 4 individual events happening at once. We will go through 4 rounds of that, and then recognize everybody who is first, second, and third place winners for all those individual events. Then we have the big tug of war, and our goal is to be presenting those final awards by 1 o'clock. It could be 1:15, it could be 1:20, but we don't want it to be 2:30 or 3 in the afternoon, because usually by then everybody is about toast. It may be October, but it's still hot. So here's just a little Google Earth looking down on Pensacola State's College. Most of the events that we do will be inside the track. So we'll be on that field labeled 1 or that little side field 2, a couple of the longer ones off on that section 3. We have a couple of events actually on the tennis courts, area 4. And then when you're looking at 5 and 6, that's the pool and the basketball gym, indoor venues. All those little blue squares represent where our tents will be. We did have the incentive for early registration. So those folks who were our first to register and that will go in, everybody who met that early registration deadline will be in the center spots on the track. And then we fan out from there. So you have an area that is at least 20 by 20 for your team. And I don't think, well, Shay, you all were talking about maybe having 2. If you've got 2 whole teams, you'll have double that area. So we do have a couple of folks who are planning to put in 2 or even 3 teams. And so you'll have plenty of space immediately adjacent. And that is really your spot to make your own within reason. And we'll talk about that too. So a little bit, just make a note that whatever you are bringing out on the field, you have to get out there. So, you know, we will have you can see the little moving van there in the bottom left corner is kind of where our trailer of equipment is. But otherwise, we're having to get things out there with whatever means possible. So whether it's dollies, it's straight human strength. I always do my best to sweet talk the college folks to let us use some of their gator movers to be able to move things around. But we do need to be really aware that we're moving stuff out and moving it back, and you can't necessarily drive right up to your space. So you will have that Olympic Village area where we do encourage you again to set up your space. So if you want to put up little pop-up tents, if you've got a company tent, if you want to bring out lawn chairs, it's a place. If you choose to do a team banner, we encourage you to display your banner. We have had teams in the past where someone does not want to be part of the events. They're the hospitality crew. So their whole job is to kind of set up the tent. And sometimes they grill hamburgers, sometimes they make lumpia, sometimes they just play fun music, whatever it is that makes your space more your space. We really want you to do that. We do provide some food, but it is really for the team members. So we will have lunch. We will have some items for breakfast in the morning. We'll have water. We encourage there to be spectators. But if we have another, just know that our focus is making sure that the team is fueled. So if you do have a bunch of spectators joining, additional family and friends and coworkers, which is really encouraged, we're not able to necessarily provide lunch for everybody who comes out there. So we do encourage you to supplement that or just make sure people know. All right, I always like to do this, to bring or not to bring. That is the question. So we do really love having more people out there. So other team members, other coworkers who may not be able to be there can drop in. Your leadership, your board, your family, your friends, and I always say children that you can supervise. We at the Y love kids. We do lots of things for kids, but our whole team is really focused on the event. So we are really not able to make sure that, you know, Susie and Johnny don't go running off. So we do need to make sure that we can hang on to those kids. Your own tent, your own chairs, your own coolers, this is all fine. If you want to bring out a grill, this is fine. More food and drink, sunscreen. It is October 1st, but it's October 1st. So we really want people to be hydrated and sun protected. And then whatever type of things really create that fun atmosphere for you. If cornhole is your company thing, bring out your cornhole boards and, you know, knock your lights out. We ask you, please do not bring children that you cannot supervise unless, and this I always put, if somewhere in your company you've got, you know, responsible, even high school age kids or college kids who are looking for volunteer hours, we can use them. We always need extra sets of hands and we can give them jobs to help with events and other things. So I am happy if you're saying, gosh, I really want to do this, but my 17-year-old is not going to want to come. Well, I can give him or her some hours. We ask no pets, obviously, unless they're service animals. And I feel like I should not have to say no alcohol, no tobacco, no weapons, but I am going to say that very clearly, that this is a YMCA event on a college campus. And so we do want to make sure that the environment is safe. So your team eligibility are regular employees of your company who are at least 18 years old. So every now and then I have someone who says, I'm like, did you recruit that person just for Quinn Studer used to say that years ago. We're going to start adding this on our hiring list, is what event can you do at the corporate cup games, which is great, but it should be your regular employees. We put spouses on there. I use that term loosely. I'm not asking for any documentation. If you sign off on this person as being part of your team, then we are going to take your good faith word on that. Ideally, your team should be about 18 to 28 members, and you'll see you can do it with fewer, but it's tough. It means every single person is running from one event to the next each hour. So my own personal recommendation would be if everyone on your team gets at least one event slot break, it gives people a chance to go watch other things, cheer for their coworkers, and maybe be a little less likely to pull a hamstring or something like that because they're racing around. There will be 3 things that you will get as well from us, and we'll look at them briefly at the end of this meeting. A CEO statement, a waiver document, and a team grid. And so what those 3 things are, your CEO statement is basically whoever your local highest ranking employee is. So your CEO, the president, the director, generally that's one person. In some cases, like in the case of a law firm where you have equal partners, there could be multiple people in that role. But we're looking for whoever that local highest ranking person is. That is sort of your the person who's signing off to say, yes, these are all real employees of Baptist or IHMC. It's that person saying we're gonna play fair, play hard, play fair. And if that person, whoever that person is, participates on event day, then you get some bonus points, because we do we know that having senior leadership be involved makes a difference. It helps them to see what you're doing as a team captain or other people who are organizing this. It can really create some camaraderie, and it's kind of neat. We've had hospital CEOs or partners in law firms or owners of contracting companies out there, doing the tug of war. And it's just really, it's great to see that happen. So we'll be looking for that. We do ask that every person who's participating sign our event waiver, just saying, I know that there is a risk of something happening. I'm gonna be as safe as possible. I've never had a major injury in all my years of doing this. We have had one woman who torqued her knee doing tug of war and afterwards said, I knew I shouldn't have been doing that. But we really want to keep everybody safe. And then we've created a little team grid that helps you figure out who's doing what events. And we'll look at that at the end of this training. It's just a very, very simple Excel spreadsheet that helps you to figure out if you have enough people, and to make sure that if the event is a 4-person event, you have 4 people signed up and you don't have somebody scheduled for 2 things at the same time. We do have minimum numbers of female participants. It's really just to kind of keep the playing field a little level. I want you to just remember that those are minimums. And by that, I mean, you could have a team of all women. But when we get down to something, some events, it doesn't matter. In an egg toss, it really doesn't matter. In tug of war, most of the time it matters. So, we'll show those when we get there. And then each person who's on your team, we ask to be a part of at least 2 individual events. And that's really because it's hard to be really part of that team if you drop in, hit the golf ball and leave, and you're not there for the rest of the day. But if they participate in at least 2 events, there's some vested involvement. So that's a little bit of an overview. And what I'm going to do now is just do a quick run through on our individual events. In some cases, a photograph should be sufficient. But as I said, we have some brief little video clips. This is the first, this all worked in my practice. So hopefully it all works well now too. 1 mile run is just that. It is just a run. The Pensacola State Track is not exactly a standard track. So it's not exactly a mile, but it's close. And we do this in 2 different waves. All the men run and all the women run. So again, you can have 2 females in this event, but one of them will have to run with the men. And this is just a place finish. So a lot of times people get confused by how this is graded. We do not have chips. We're not timing. It is just what number in 1 through whatever, what place are you crossing the finish line, and the lowest combined score will win. So if you have a really wickedly fast woman and she's first, but your guy is last, then that is not going to be as good as people who finished maybe third and fourth. So that is the 1 mile run. Closest to the pin, and you will see as we go there, these are some real photos and real clips from past events. So you'll see some of the apparel or accoutrement, as my daughter would say, that are on some of the contestants here. So closest to the pin is just a golf accuracy event. How close can you get to a target? And this is the only thing where you will have to bring an item. Whoever's hitting the golf ball will have to bring their own golf club. We have the balls and the mat and the target, but whoever does this will have to bring their own club. So obstacle course. All right, let's see how it goes.
That's your finish. Be sure to get your finish.
Okay, so that is some representative samples of some obstacle course events, pieces. That changes a little every year. And what we like to say is sometimes there might be things that are a little more athletic, and sometimes it's just things that are a little more cooperative. How do you work together to be able to accomplish the course? And my favorite thing that I ever did of that is one year we had a tray where you had a glass of water on the tray, and the two of you had to move the tray from one place to the next without spilling the water. So that was really about cooperation, not as necessarily as much about how high can you jump. But that is simply a race against the clock. The fastest teams win. Okay, all right. Sod surfing. All right, so here is. So this is our sod surfing event. So sod surfing there, very much, I think, probably one of the things we do that requires the most teamwork. It is the thing that involves, yes, it is very much so, Donna. I think that we have people who have made their own sod surfers to practice, just with 1x6s and ropes. There are some little techniques that really do help. And so we do not lend out equipment ahead of time, but like I said, there are some things where people actually go and kind of test those. So this is always a fun event to watch. Sometimes people just get totally paralyzed. All right, hot shot. Let's see, I think I have just a little clip here. So hot shot is really an accuracy. You've got two team members, and whoever's not shooting will be able to grab rebounds for their partner in the event, but you can choose to be at the closest spot and shoot 1-point shots, or you can go farther away where you can get 3 points a shot, but you're going to have to be farther away from the basket. So some of these events, and this is one, do have a tendency to have a lot of ties, where we might, we've got to have people stick around and break those ties after. We really do our best to not have any ties so that it helps with our scoring. So there's our hot shot event. Hula hoop is just a hula hoop competition. Who can keep the hoop up the longest? We have had people who are master hula hoopers, and so we introduce other elements to speed things along. So close your eyes, walk backwards, stand on one foot, whatever it takes. And those are just spontaneously thrown out there. I think there's a little bit of maybe an expectation. One of our most competitive hula hoopers for a long time was a guy who just aced this and could stand there like it was just nobody's business. He was my favorite hula hooper because he just would look off into Never Never Land and go forever. Anyway, so there's that. Okay, so this is a new event. So I don't know if any of you are real TikTokers or not. I am not, but we discovered this on TikTok and we decided to replicate it. So we have never done this at our event, but we wanted to be able to show it and make sure that we felt that it was doable. And this is Trixie, who is going to be our table surfer. And the team says, yes, it was very doable. So here you go.
All right. So, all right, you ready? Okay. Ready again?
I'm ready. It's on.
Ready?
Waiting to see their reactions. So I had a lot of people who were apprehensive about doing this. They, as you can see, they got in there and did it. Now this was on our rubber flooring. We will be doing this on grass, so that is helpful. But this is an 8-person event, and so it will require a little bit of a group. No one was injured in the making of this video, and they did seem to have a pretty good time. So I do think this is one where people will really benefit from being able to see this. If anyone is a TikToker, there's a whole lot of examples of this out on TikTok. It's apparently all the rage with the kids. So we're going to give this a shot and see what happens. Frisbee Chaos, Heather, here's your event. So this event is a Frisbee event where the person who is catching the Frisbees has to hold them. And so your partner is throwing those Frisbees to you, you're holding the Frisbees, and at some point you have to make the decision about whether catching one more Frisbee will cause you to drop them all or not. And your score is how many Frisbees you are left holding at the end of your time. Here's our Raft Relay event. This guy's great. So nothing in this says that you have to necessarily be facing forward. As you can see, sometimes people are paddling sideways or backwards. Yes, so Raft Relay, nice fun one. The executive toss is simply an egg toss. We will start off the group really close and have people gradually widen that distance between them. If you drop your egg or break your egg, you are out. And so this is a elimination down to our final teams to be able to then go at it for the top honors in the egg toss. All right, here's the football event. So you've got three primary players there. Your quarterback and your center actually line up back to back. And then your receiver is standing off. And it's how many football catches you can complete. This year, we have officially added 2 slots for your shaggers, your 2 folks who help ferry those balls, retrieve and ferry them back. And different people do that in different ways. So however and that's why we showed a couple of different teams, how they actually do that so that those footballs are running back to the quarterback. We like to blindfold people because we just think it's fun. Our quick change relay is a 4x50 race, but instead of handing off a baton, you actually put on a really oversized shirt and pair of pants to run in. This is an event where some people choose to run barefoot, and that is fine. You just got to get the arms in the armholes and the legs in the pants holes to be able to run. We will do this on grass because we don't want anyone getting overly excited on a hard surface and possibly wiping out. Dodgeball, pretty sure I got a little video clip here.
Perfect.
People get pretty serious about their dodgeball. And this is basically, there's 3 people on your team, so they're rotating in. As one person is eliminated, they step out, the next person on your team goes in. And this is run sort of as a little tournament. We work our way down to where the top 3 teams will then go head to head to determine first, second, and third. Okay, this is another new event. This is called Sink It. You might recognize this event. Perhaps you've played this in other ways, maybe in tabletop versions or in water versions.
Oh, God. Hurry up, let's move.
So for this event, the 2 teammates will be going at the same time. And every ball has to bounce on the ground before it goes into a bucket and has to stay in the bucket. And there are different point values depending upon which bucket you hit them in. So the one right in the middle has the most point value. But this is a new event that we were going to bring out with the last one, our 2019. So that's why we have the little video here for you to see. Wheelbarrow Relay. Another place where we blindfold people. So this is a real communication event because the person in the wheelbarrow has to be giving directions to the person who's pushing them who is blindfolded. I do recognize that we're using hard plastic blindfolds, and we will have those be disinfected in between uses so that they are clean for all the folks who are using them along the way. Square off is, I just say it's kind of like cow patty bingo without the cows. So this is where 2 individuals, and I did not have a video clip of this, but where you're actually blindfold throwing onto onto this grid, and your beanbag, depending on where you land, is your points and your point totals. This also, we had one year where at the very end of the day, we had a tie for two teams for third. And we had never had that happen before. And we broke it by telling the two teams, pick one person, that person gets to throw one beanbag. And that was our tiebreaker. And this was what we used. And then, of course, the last thing being tug of war, which I think everybody is familiar with that. Just some quick notes about tug of war. The two things that are really important is no cleats. So anybody who's on here cannot have any kind of cleats or spikes on their shoes. And we strongly encourage whoever's doing this to have gloves, some kinds of glove, gardening gloves or work gloves. Those ropes are still pretty new, but if they get pulled through your hands, at the end of that pull, or if you've done several times, that can really be rough. So we do encourage people to bring their own gloves for that event. For each of these events, there will be an event coordinator, a person who is in charge, who knows the rules, has gone through this, who's the person with the clipboard and the whistle. And there will be other folks who are helping to count or to run stopwatches or to watch, are they in, are they out? But that event coordinator will be the person who is in charge. And that is typically a YMCA full-time staff member. So a director, a program manager, or someone who is in like a board volunteer role or something, who really is in a Y leadership role. We are on this day, we are all essentially volunteers, because even though we are the Y, we don't typically run egg toss and Frisbee Chaos. So we do ask everybody to realize that our folks who are out there running that are human. We don't have instant replay. We don't have chips or touchpads. And so we're going to do the best we can to be consistent and fair within what is possible that day. Each one of those event coordinators will very briefly hit on some of those key rules before the events start. So this is where it's just really important for your folks, get there. Let's make sure we understand, okay, what do I do? Do I have to ride? Do I have to push the raft forward? Can I be in the water to get in the, a lot of those little things, they will review that. In some cases, all of these are by luck of the draw. We do a random draw for the order in which teams go. And I just say that because for the obstacle course, if your team is first, they're the first people to go through that. And that is simply luck. If they're the 10th team to go through, they've had the opportunity to watch 9 other teams, and they might be able to learn from that. So we do all of this randomly, because we do want it to just be as even and fair as possible. So just to know that. We do have the t-shirt and the banner competition as well. So these are ways to maybe involve other people in the company and get really creative. So your team t-shirt, we do want some way for you to be identified as a team. And some companies have a shirt already, and that's what they choose to wear, and that's great. Or we just say, okay, can you all be in solid day-glow orange, whatever it is. But it's a chance to really take that theme and anything about your company and create something that you want to wear for that day. So that is your choice to enter that, but that is also an event. If you choose to enter the t-shirt competition, we will want an actual t-shirt. And I'll have the deadline schedule on that. And we have volunteers who judge those t-shirts. So our only requirement for volunteers is that they are not on a team. They're not participating and representing any of your companies. So we generally get board members to come and do that, to judge those teams. So it's a really fun way to do that. We also send out the YMCA logo. If you are using the Y logo, we just ask that just as you have your brand and mark, and we would respect that you do the same thing. So I tell people, we've got all these colors in the Y logo, but the safest thing to do is just use solid black or solid white, and then you're good. And we just ask that, don't put a hula skirt or a sombrero hat or anything on our logo, and we're good. If you're concerned at all about your design, what do you think about this? There's a couple of us who sort of are the why little committee. We're happy to take a look and tell you, we think this is really great, or, here's something you might want to think about. We're happy to look at that for you ahead of time. The t-shirt and the banner are things that you really create though. So if you have someone in your company who is an artist and they say, I really want to work on an idea, that's great. But what we don't want is to have you go hire a graphic design firm to put something together. The design and the banner is really what we're looking for from the creativity within your own company. And I do tell people, some people do this as a whole contest or open it up to all of their employees. One of the best shirts and banners we ever had came from a company where their accountant, who just had this really creative side, did this really cool thing. So that also becomes a way for you to really kind of represent your team during event day. And we have volunteers who also judge those. We give a spirit award away. So your spirit award, you can win nothing and still walk away with the spirit award. How does your team show up on event day for your team and for everyone else, and play with good sportsmanship and really have a lot of fun? And that is the most subjective, non-scientific award that our Y team gives at the end of the day. We get some comments sometimes about the scoring where people say, I don't understand. We have really played a lot of ways with this, and given what we can do within the scope of the day, again, we don't have a professional awards company. There's nothing, this is all done really for fun. So when you are the first place winner in any event, your team earns 9 points. Second place, 8 points, all the way down from there. As long as you participate in the event, you get a point. So sometimes I have people say, I can't get anybody to run. Well, can you get somebody to walk? Can you get somebody to get on there and kind of skip, walk, perambulate in some way and get your point for that event? So, we really want people to have a good time. And that's why we just want to do that. The overall winner is the most points for the day. And then we also do a first, second, and third in large and small division. One of the things we asked you for in your registration form is how many employees you have locally. If you did not fill that spot out, we're going to come back and bug you about that. Because when we have the full roster of teams, we take kind of a natural dividing line in number of employees, and we create our large and small company divisions. So I think you can typically say if you're at Baptist Hospital, you're going to be in the large company division. I can't imagine any way that could happen otherwise. But sometimes it kind of depends upon who shows up that year. I've had years where large companies are 200 and more employees. I've had years where large companies are 100 and more employees. So it really kind of depends. But theoretically, if you have only 25 employees, you have fewer people to draw on than if you have 2,500. And that's kind of why we break it up that way. So a couple of important dates. You've got a little over a month. I think everybody is pretty much update on entry fees and sponsorships, which is great. If you are a silver sponsor, and again, we will start communicating with you. We want to get a good, clean logo, high resolution logo, because we've got signage that goes up on our scoreboard. You're on our volunteer shirts. We make sure that you get some extra props during the day for that silver sponsorship. And that also is when we're looking for your CEO and CEO form and your waivers. On September 22nd, that is a week and a day before the event, is where we do the drawing for our heats. And we could plug this into a random number into an Excel sheet and do it really quickly. But it is one of our traditions that we sit around a table and we draw team names out of a cup. And we usually sit there and have lunch. And I like to get at least 2 team captains to be there, because then you can vouch for the fact that it really was all random. So when someone says, it seems like IHMC is first in every event, no, it really was all random. It just might feel that way. And then we send those out because some people want to know, am I the first person to go or the last person to go? That'll be up to you. On the Monday before the event, if you are submitting a t-shirt, then we will want a t-shirt, an actual t-shirt delivered to the Y by 5 o'clock that day. If you need the shirt back, I'm happy to get it back to you. Although sometimes if you don't come get the shirt, the way you can know your shirt's really good is how many Y staff are trying to get your shirt. There are team shirts that live in my husband's drawer. There are team shirts that my daughters have. There are team shirts that show up on our staff here when they're really kind of fun and cool. And we're also looking by that Monday for your team grid, which we'll look at in just a second. Just one final word. We just want to make sure the focus of the event is really promoting health and wellness in the workplace, really having fun. We want people to have fun. We want you to come up and represent your company, your organization, and play hard and really give it your best. But we really want to make sure that we do keep this as a fun event and we don't get too serious about it. All right. So I'm going to just show you all, for the sake of anyone who might not have seen this before, a couple of these things that we send you that we want to make sure that you will get back to us. So just a couple of things. The CEO form is really simple. This is just, if that person is saying, yes, every person we're turning in our roster really works for us, is connected to us, meets the requirements, if they are participating in their events, and then just signs off on that. So that is a very simple form that will come back to you. We also then have our waiver. And the waiver is just your company name, your information, and then we ask that we print, or if you use this, you can actually type the names in there. It's really helpful. And sometimes it can be challenging if people have nicknames, if their handwriting is really bad. So we're really just trying to make sure we have everybody accounted for, and they're signing this waiver and dating it. Now, at Ailstock, you guys might all be in the same place and it's easy. I understand for FPL or Baptist, you're all over the place. So I don't care if you give us 20 different pages that have one name or two names on them. It's fine. If we're getting these electronically, then you can use the form as many times as you need. But we do our best to make sure that we have everyone who has signed the waiver. Sometimes we get somebody who you just can't track down, and we'll ask them to sign it that morning on event day. And then the final form that we've created for you that really, I think, will help make your job easier is this team grid. And so this is just a very simple Excel sheet that just where you can put the names of your team in here. And then you've got your events by slot. So you really cannot schedule the same person in two events in the same time slot. It is potentially possible that they could be first heat on one and last heat on another, but we don't know that. So this can really help you to make sure that you don't have someone in two slots. And then if you enter these as numbers, if you enter them as, instead of an X, it totals down here, and you can see that your above number must equal, here's how many. So if it's a 2-person event, a 4-person event, an 8-person, it just helps you to take a real quick look at it and know. Now, we know that these things change. This is really as much to help you as it is to help us. It just helps us know, yep, IHMC is going to be competing in all of the events. They've got every event slotted. That's great. But it helps you to be able to figure out who's doing what and for people to know. So this, again, is also an electronic form that you can then email us. And it always happens. Hey, so-and-so, had to go take care of their grandmother. So-and-so's kid needs them. So-and-so left the company. I don't know. So-and-so joined the company. And so there are going to be changes, and we understand that, but we really do try to make sure that we have everybody accounted for in that team grid. So there are a lot of things that I owe you. You will get your captain's manual, which is a lot of what we went through today. that gives a lot of great information, and all the rules are very well spelled out. So if you have people who are really, really sticklers about it, or you just want to say to everybody on your team, you're doing, okay, I know you're doing obstacle course, Frisbee, and dodgeball. Take a look at the rules ahead of time if you want to make sure, they're all really spelled out, and we have diagrams and all that in there as well. So you'll get that. You'll get the recording after tomorrow, the recording of this, so that we can share it, and then these forms that come to you as well. We're excited here at the Y because this is a really fun day for us. One of the few things about this that we always say, the only thing we don't like about this day is that because we're all working, we don't get to do, we don't get to do sod surfing. We don't get to do the tug of war. We tried for a long time to get the Y Mobile to start doing this event so we could send a team over to compete. But it is a fun day. We have a lot of new people on our team, and this will be their first time really running this, because it's been a couple of years. And hopefully you have some seasoned vets and some new people in your world as well. I am happy to take any questions if there are any at this time. We will, of course, be around. Trixie and I, and our emails are on everything. And we will have an answer or get an answer for you if there's anything. And we'll be very, but I know we're 8 weeks out and people start getting antsy and they're ready to do it. So, and there's still space. So when we sent that email yesterday, if there are people you're telling your best friend or your Bible study partner or your bowling partner about this, and they're like, gosh, I think we want in. If there's somebody you want to challenge to come out, another law firm, another whatever, I'm just saying, we think that's a lot of fun, and we'd love to have more people participating on that day. Are there any questions at this time that I can answer for anyone that maybe something I haven't covered or something that was not clear?
Yeah, this is Matt. I've got a quick question.
Okay.
You mentioned entering multiple teams. Is there a deadline for that? So I've had a lot of people express interest, more than I expected. And
I
so,
love hearing that, Matt. I
so
love
might
hearing that.
want to add a second team if that's possible.
Absolutely. And so we can make that work for you. That's really simple. I'm going to ask Trixie to circle back around and follow up with you after today. We have space. The one thing that we have said about multiple teams in the past is we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to enter. Once we pass that early registration deadline, if we don't have a full slate, we know the maximum number of teams that we can manage for this event. There's only been 1 year in my 20 years of doing this that we had the absolute max, and it was almost too much for everyone. We were right at the edge. So as long as we're not there, we do have the space. And the only thing we would ask for you all is then you really do have 2 separate rosters, and you might have a different way of identifying that. So we've had, like, Baptist before has done the Baptist blue team and the Baptist red team, or something like that, where you kind of have that differentiation. If you do multiple teams, if your CEO person participates, everybody gets points. And we don't, if you do a shirt or a banner and you have any points, that gets distributed to all your teams as well.
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah,
I love hearing that there's that. When Shannon, I asked Shannon, I said, Shannon, are you the one who said, hey, we should do this? She said, maybe. I said, I'm just really glad. I feel like we've got a few folks competing this year for the first time, several new teams, and I'm excited about that because first year teams are always fun.
Well, hopefully we can do that for you.
Sounds great. Any other questions right now for the greater good before we wrap it up? All right, I am going to, let's see, I think I can stop this. Oh, I thought I could stop this recording. Maybe